we go. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Derek Crochet Show. It's Friday. We freaking made it. It's the end of the week. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the revolution.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Derek Crochet Show. Thank you guys for taking time out of your day to hang out with me. It means so much to me that you do so. Get more people to pile in here. It's Friday. It's not usually the time I go live on Friday because tonight I have an event to go to, so life happens. I usually go a lot later, but I'm off today, and I figured might as well get it in. You know what I mean? But let's get right into some of the news as I burp real quick. Excuse me. Do you guys drink sparkling waters? I'm really into sparkling waters, and I drink them all the time. Can we just talk about how pink I look right now? What's going on with this chroma? Okay. Let me fix my screen. This is what happens when you do a live show. Maybe I'm just sunburnt. I don't know. Okay. I think that's better. Golly. All right. Let's get into the first story. Happy Friday, first of all. Everyone, you made it at the end of the week. It's April Fool's. I'm not going to do a super silly April Fool's joke. It's just not the time of my life to do it. I had been searching all over the internet for the last few days and just looking, and I've been seeing these weird rumblings on the left about Donald Trump's mysterious January 6th call logs. I'm looking at this and I'm like, is this just another silly hoax? Is this just another thing for the left to get riled up about, their emotions to get twisted and put in a little bundle and let them just continue to freak out and get pumped up about, oh my God, we got Trump, we got him. We finally got him. He's going down. He doesn't have a choice in the matter. And I kept seeing these reports about these mysterious log gap. What actually happened? What was Trump actually doing January 6th? What was actually going down? And it turns out absolutely nothing. So once again, another thing that MSNBC, I was watching all over MSNBC, I saw it all over CNN, I saw it everywhere about how this was going to take him down. This would be the final straw that broke the camel's back. This mysterious gap in the January 6th call logs. Turns out there was no mysterious gap in former President Trump's official White House logs on January 6, 2021, despite insinuations that to the contrary. Trump's White House switchboard call log is complete, CNN reported this week. In fact, the call log, according to sources, reflects the typical phone habits of Trump. The call logs are not inaccurate or incomplete, though CNN complained that the system for tracking the president's calls has been for decades imperfect and antiquated. So at the best, we need a better tracker of call logs. Speaking of call logs, I would love to hear any of Joe Biden's call logs with any top personnel in the White House or presidents like Zelensky. The report cited a former staffer of President Barack Obama, detailed how staff would sometimes dial out for a call, and then the president would hit the transfer to connect to Obama, which would technically evade the White House call log. So you didn't actually make the call. Someone else did. It's like when your mom gets on the phone back in the day when we had only one phone hook in the whole house. And you'd be like, Mom, I'm talking to my girlfriend. Get off the phone. I didn't make the call, though I'm on the call. CNN explained that it is possible that President Donald Trump often did the same during the tenure. So mysterious. Yet Obama did the same thing. CNN breaking the 6 pages of the White House switchboard logs for the 1-6 are complete based on official review. And people are freaking out and they're like, I thought we had him. And then I went to MSNBC to see what they were talking about today, per usual, and they're talking about exactly what you assume they would be talking about, right? They're talking about Trump. Every news article is about Trump, and I got to this part in one of the articles that just made me LOL, which means laugh out loud. For some of those people that don't know this, said this statement right here is really makes me laugh out loud. That's how Trump has operated his whole time, smashing together fact with rumor and grudges into a slurry of ill intent and naked ambition. Wow, what a wonderfully crafted sentence that is. Smashing together fact with rumor. And I'm trying to think, who smashes together fact with rumor to create an entire narrative, to create an entire story based on the other political party? And I just can't put a finger on who does that. It's almost like MSNBC is talking exactly to themselves. As speaking of MSNBC, Jen Psaki is reportedly going to leave the White House for MSNBC. Who didn't see this coming? I was assuming CNN, but no, she's saying, no, I'm so far left, I'm too far left for CNN. I'm actually MSNBC material, and I'm going to jump on their sinking ship. But again, this sentence, that's how Trump operated this whole time, smashing together fact with rumor and grudges into a slurry of ill intent and naked ambition. And then we get to this story, which this tweet is incredible. And this is, again, smashing together maybe fact with rumor, as MSNBC was just saying in their article, to create ill intent. Julie Davis tweets out, meanwhile, on Russian state TV, another translated clip of Tucker Carlson, which is just so funny. So if Russia uses any information from a news site, all of a sudden it's pro-Putin. It's pro-Putin material, basically part of the Kremlin itself, which is just, it's just so dumb. But this is the culture we're in right now. I mean, I put out a clip the other day of somebody talking. Somebody goes, that person is actually a white supremacist. I said, okay, but are you arguing what this person is saying? Or are you just trying to say believes this way, therefore I can't listen to her? That's like if Hitler was to say cheeseburgers are fantastic. Does that mean cheeseburgers suck all of a sudden? No, nobody with a logical mind would say that or think that. But that's where so many people on the left are. Tons of leftists and tons of people who believe this. But again, Julie Davis tweets out, meanwhile, on Russian state TV, another translated clip of Tucker Carlson and Tulsi Gabbard, introduced by state TV host Vladimir Shalokov and he announced it as our girlfriend Tulsi. Oh my God. She puts it in quotes. After the clip plays, one panelist asks. Oh, it's been a long week, people. After the clip plays, one panelist asks, is she some sort of Russian agent? The host quickly replies, yes. And therefore, that automatically means that Russia is telling the truth. See, I'm under the influence, not by alcohol, but that everything RT in Russia is producing, according to the left, is all propaganda. All of it is propaganda. And so, why then tweet this? Why tweet something that you say with your mouth? I mean, we take down RT News because we say they're all just propaganda. Everything they do is propaganda, unlike our own corporate media. We don't do any propaganda here. So if RT News is all propaganda, then why say that this isn't propaganda? Why say that Tulsi Gabbard being a Russian agent isn't propaganda? Because it fits your narrative. It fits your ideology. It fits who you believe this person is. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting tired of people in corporate media. I'm getting tired of people, politicians. I'm getting so tired that if it fits your narrative, therefore it has to be true no matter what. I don't care who it is. I don't care if Joe Biden says it. I don't care if Donald Trump says it. I don't care if Bernie Sanders says it. If it fits your narrative, there it is. Is Tulsi Gabbard a Russian agent? Nobody with a logical thinking mind would say yes. Is Tucker Carlson a Russian agent? Nobody with a logical mind would say yes. But if it fits your narrative and you can have your little gotcha moment, you tweet it out. Because you want to create a story based on something you already believe to be true. That's why when I opened it up this morning or this afternoon, I was looking for something to talk about, and I looked at all the leftist websites, because that's how I like to engage with the left. That's what I like to do. I like to engage with their news stories. I like to engage with their what they believe to be true, because a lot of them are, in some ways, in charge of our culture, which is unfortunate to be true. And so they're still talking about Trump nonstop. And that whole January 6th call log thing that turned out to be absolutely nothing because it fit their narrative. We finally got a moment. And this is their moment for Tulsi Gabbard and Tucker Carlson. See, we've been telling you the whole time that they're actually Russian agents. And therefore, this confirms it because it confirms my ideology. And then she goes down to put out a clip. This clip, for too long on Twitter, I had to cut part of it out. But if you want to read what Tulsi was talking about here on Fox News, and I assume that she's talking about the Tulsi Gabbard biolab stuff, and then here's a picture of some leftists, how it started. Look, she used to be like that. Now she's at CPAC. As if CPAC represents all Republicans or conservatives in general, which is not true whatsoever. And then, oh God. Okay. Don't be like these people. Just because something fits your narrative, especially if it's a joke, which is clearly a joke. Come on. This has got to be a joke. That she's a Russian agent, yes. LOL. That should have been the point of this. And then Julie Davis should have looked at that and gone, that's just so silly. Or she should have looked at it and said, you know what? It's RT News, and RT News is full of propaganda, especially right now during wartime, because they're worried about their self-image, that they'll put whatever they can out to make Americans look dumb or have Americans agree with their ideology. Let me know your thoughts on this, because I think so much of this is the reason why people hate corporate media, and so much of this is the reason why people hate politicians in today's world, because they're so quick to make assumptions or have a narrative in their brain that they can't help but be held to of some capacity. So let me know your thoughts. All right, that's the top news story of the day. And then we have this, which I have the press briefing up too, just to check. I want to see if Jen Psaki comes out and says, it is true. I am leaving. My camera is being weird. I'm going to fix this real quick. Okay. Swing. Madison Cawthorn has came out and said that there are cocaine parties and orgies in DC, which, I mean, it's funny. It's crazy that people on the left will watch TV shows like House of Cards, and they're like, wow, that's so crazy what goes on there. And then they hear a Republican say this, and they're like, what an insane idiot. And so this is them. This is the left's attempt, their best attempt at making fun of Madison Cawthorn.
Fellow Madison.
And so let's try to see if it's funny at all. If I laugh, I'll give everyone $100.
Congressman Madison Cawthorn says fellow lawmakers invited him to an orgy and did cocaine in front of him.
But his Republican colleagues disagree, saying, I've been here a decade. It's one of the most boring places. Truly, it's one of the most banal places you can imagine.
You're watching C-SPAN.
Wait, when was that article placed? Does it have a date? No date. That sounds about right. Okay. You know what? This is so like live TV, you know? This is why people, they don't do it on the news. Okay.
Harassment scandal taking over the political world.
Let's start this. Wait a second. It just cut out. Okay. Okay, we're back. Good Lord. You know, this is... Cheers. It's Friday. We're drinking sparkling water. I'm drinking Dick's sparkling water. Check it out. Dick's. All right. Here we go. Back to making the left's attempt. Trying their best attempt at making fun of Madison Cawthorn. Let's see if it's funny. If I laugh, I'll give everyone $100.
Congressman Madison
Not at them, with them.
says fellow lawmakers invited him to an orgy and did cocaine in front of him.
But his Republican colleagues disagree, saying, I've been here a decade. It's one of the most boring places. Truly, it's one of the most banal places you can imagine.
Why is the audience laughing at that? I'm so worried about comedy in the future.
You're watching C-SPAN 3. It's time for the nurse to turn you. Coming up next, the Republican Agricultural Farm Subsidies and Orgy Committee.
We're here today to clarify rules regarding the flesh pit.
Point of order.
The Speaker recognizes Committee Chairman and Dungeon Master Senator Chuck Grassley.
Yeah, I'd like to submit pumpkin patch as the agreed upon safe word.
The safe word is recognized. I'd like to now recognize Senator Ron Johnson.
How did you recognize me?
No.
I have a mask on.
I recognize your Johnson. Proceed.
Mr.
Not every day your green screen just falls behind you. Good Lord. Oh, it's Friday, people. We just need to relax, have a good time.
Chairman, I'd like to table the idea of doing it on the table and take a vote on the inclusion of a variety of assplay paraphernalia, including, but not exclusively, feathers, beads.
What about corn?
Look, I know you're from Iowa, but not everyone is into corn play.
I'm Ted Cruz, and I want to be in the sex party.
It's Cruz. Quick, turn off the lights.
Oh, my God. That is late night television. And then we have Trevor Noah and The Daily Show doing their best to make fun of Madison Cawthorn. Let's see if it's any funny at all. And then we'll go on to some actual clips.
Scandal taking over the political world.
We'll see how long I last.
Also tonight, serious questions are swirling around the youngest member of Congress, an up-and-coming Republican with an increasingly high profile.
He is considered a rising star in the Republican Party, but Congressman Madison Cawthorn's past and the political persona he has cultivated is littered with dark allegations. Cawthorn faced numerous allegations of sexual harassment while attending Patrick Henry College in Virginia just 4 years ago. Caitlin Coulter went to school with Cawthorn and says she was taken on what he called a fun drive.
His MO was to take vulnerable women out on these rides with him in the car and to make advances.
Cawthorn asked her about her purity ring and her sexual experiences.
So a guy takes a girl on a car ride?
Coulter says she felt something was off and shut down the conversation.
He got really upset and he whipped the car around and started going back to campus at 70, 80 miles an hour on these one-lane roads. And it was really scary.
There was a lot of sexual innuendo, Lee Petrie told CNN. It got really uncomfortable walking to and from class. He would yell out, "Are you ready to take that fun drive today?"
Oh, damn.
Are you ready to take that fun drive? Oh my God. That's a sexual innuendo? Oh my gosh. Let's make an entire story about that. Are you ready to take that fun ride? Oh my god.
That guy doesn't sound fun at all. This guy was apparently sexually harassed.
Look at this fake over emotional reaction to that story, because it's such a dumb story. He was saying sexual innuendos, and then he would say, do you want to take a fun ride?
While driving like a crazy person? It's like if Mario Kart let you play as Harvey Weinstein. And just to be clear, this wasn't just making a few people uncomfortable. No, Cawthorn reportedly kissed women by force, put his hands up their skirts, and pulled one girl onto his lap and put his finger between her legs. In fact, it got so bad that RAs at the school started warning students to stay away from him. And you know you're doing something.
BuzzFeed journalism. I love like actual cases. That's like sexual assault. But isn't any of this proven? Nope, but we're going to make an entire story about it.
Something wrong when you're in the same category as STDs and alcohol poisoning. But the question you may be asking is, who is Madison Cawthorn? And how did he go from college creep to congressman creep? Well, let's find out in another episode of Fringe Watching.
My goal of developing a...
I can't do it. I can't finish it. That was the entire basis of the entire story. That was it. This is our late night comedy television. Freaking hilarious, bro. I can't do it with these people. All right. We'll save that. I need a laugh. Okay. All right. I'm currently live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. So get in the chat, say hello. Unless you're on Rumble. For some reason, Rumble chat doesn't connect to me. They need to figure that crap out. All right. When people tell me we need to impeach Joe Biden, which is the next clip we'll get to right here, with Levin. This is literally the reason why I don't think we should. Right here. Because of her. She might be the worst vice president I've ever seen in my life. I don't understand. I mean, I do understand how she got the job, but I don't get it. I don't understand why people think that she, speaks well. I'm speechless when I think about Kamala Harris. I don't get it. There's nothing that she seems fake. Her laughs are fake. She seems like every time she comes up to speak in front of people, she has no idea what she's talking about. She seems like she doesn't even know how to look at the notes. It seems like she's completely unprepared everywhere she goes. And the uncomfortable laughter every time she feels uncomfortable when you're leading the free world is uncomfortable to watch. It's not, you don't laugh with her, you laugh at her, or you just feel concerned while you watch her laugh. That's more of my posture whenever I hear her laugh. I'm just like, are you a little are you okay? But listen, but this is why I don't want to impeach Joe Biden.
Standing here on the northern flank, on the eastern flank, talking about what we have in terms of the eastern flank and our NATO allies, I want to be very clear. The United States and Poland are united in what we have done and are prepared to do to help Ukraine and the people of Ukraine. Full stop. We all watched.
Full stop. Full stop. No sus.
The television coverage.
No cap, bro. Full stop, no cap, bro.
Coverage of just yesterday. That's on top of everything else that we know and don't know yet, based on what we've just been able to see. And because we've seen it or not doesn't mean it hasn't happened.
Okay, wait, one more time. What? I'm sorry.
Don't know yet, based on coverage of just yesterday. That's on top of everything else that we know and don't know yet, based on what we've just been able to see. And because we've seen it or not doesn't mean it hasn't happened.
Whoa. I don't even know what that means, but I love it.
But just limited to what we have seen. I am here.
I can't do it. I don't. How could she be the next in charge? How can we get to a position in America where she is next? It doesn't make sense. Nor should it. Okay. And then we get to like conservative pundits. Mark Levin talking about, let's check on her. Yeah, I knew they weren't starting yet. Mark Levin talks about impeaching Biden. And again, I do not agree with impeaching Biden because Kamala Harris. Not because that he doesn't deserve to be impeached, because he's not completely there. Because I totally don't think he's there. And I don't think anybody that has a logical thinking brain doesn't look at while he talks and goes, this dude is totally there. Justin, what up, dude? Lunch break. What you eat for lunch?
Joe Biden, it's a funny thing. I've been saying that we ought to consider the 25th Amendment. Have you noticed, Mr. Producer, that people are now regurgitating that point, or as I say, they're burping it up? But it won't work. Because most of the people saying we ought to try the 25th Amendment don't understand how it works. Even though I've said it ought to be applied, it won't be applied. The reason is you need acts by the Vice President of the United States and the President's cabinet as a first step.
Roast beef sandwich. Good choice.
You're not going to see the Vice President of the United States and his cabinet act against Joe Biden. I can't imagine. Also, it requires...
I can't imagine that. I think they're slowly starting to do it with this Hunter Biden talk. They would... For so long, they made it seem like Hunter Biden's laptop was just a nothing story. And it's gaining more legs as we speak. Even as I did... CBS on Wednesday did a whole story segment on the Hunter Biden laptop, which a year ago, 2 years ago, they wouldn't do anything of the such.
A vote to remove a president and appoint the vice president in his stead requires a vote by both houses of Congress. Impeachment, you only need the removal by one house of Congress, the Senate. So it's actually easier to impeach and remove a president under the impeachment clause, a supermajority in the Senate, than it is under the 25th Amendment. That's the truth. And so I don't see them removing Biden. I think they like what Biden's doing, whether Biden's doing it or not, or his handlers are doing it or not. They don't much give a damn. They care about power and their party. They don't care about the Constitution, that's for sure, or the country. Look what's going on our borders. That's just one issue. If you cared about our country, you'd secure it and find out who the hell's coming in here. You don't give a damn. So they're not going to trigger the 25th Amendment, even though they should. And I am deeply hopeful if the Republicans take the House, they impeach Biden. There's multiple reasons to impeach.
I don't want that to happen. I can't imagine Kamala Harris as our president. Biden's bad, but Kamala?
Impeach him. Sure, McConnell won't like it in the Senate. He's got to be removed, Republicans. If they don't remove him and replace him with somebody who's good, so much of this will be stalemated and neutralized. He did it to the Tea Party. He did it partly to Trump, and he'll do it again. But let's watch this White House as they were caught in another lie.
Wait, he can read without his glasses on? Why does he have glasses? They're not even reading glasses?
Actually, it was Biden who was caught in another lie, and I saw this in real.
The glasses are just for emphasis on words. I'm going to start doing it in my show. I'm going to start taking off my glasses. Look, you guys need to get it together.
So here you go. Go.
And did you get any chance to watch much of the Judiciary Committee hearings?
I didn't get a chance to see any of it, unfortunately.
The president watched portions of Judge Jackson's hearing yesterday and today, and is proud of the way she is showcasing her extraordinary qualifications, her experience, and her even-handedness. Her dedication to following the facts, the law, and our Constitution as an independent judge is clear. He was also moved by the grace and dignity she has shown, the deference to senators, and the level of detail she is offering.
And I love the fact that she's not a biologist.
Reinforcing the value of her experience, her intellect, and the strength of her character.
Of course, they're both lying. But that said, Biden watched part of it. He didn't want to get into it. He didn't want to answer questions about critical race theory or what's a woman or anything like that. He ought to know what a woman is. One accused him of molestation. So Biden, among everybody, could probably explain what that means, being a woman, or being a pervert, for that matter. But that said, clearly Biden's lying.
He just sniffs people to see what kind of cologne or perfume they have. He's a connoisseur of sorts.
Clearly Biden's lying. Why wouldn't he watch it for a little while, unless he's sleeping? But I think his nap lasts about 1 hour. That went on for 20 hours.
Be careful, Mark. Don't make fun of old people sleeping.
And as for the other guy, the nerdy guy, I don't know what his point is. Follow the Constitution and independent thinking. No. She hates the Constitution. If you're pushing critical race theory when nobody's watching and nobody's listening, you hate the Constitution. That means the nation, the entire nation, is founded on an immorality of white dominance.
He's so boring to me. All right, we got to go to the next news story. Let's see. This. Maybe not that. Or maybe this. Child porn. Okay. Joe Biden comes out and says this today. Do you believe him?
People are making more money. They're finding better jobs. And after decades of being mistreated and paid too little, more and more American workers have real power now to get better wages and to do what's best for themselves and their families. Some people see that as a problem. We've had this discussion in the past. I don't. I see it as long overdue. So when you hear these numbers, they're not statistics. It's a statement of the type of economy we're fighting for. An economy, as I've been saying from the beginning, built from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down. When we do it that way, everybody does well. Everybody wins.
Well, do you feel like you're currently winning with inflation where it's at? Where gas prices are where it's at? Supply chain where it's at? Employment where it's at, as he's created more jobs than any president ever since blah, 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 blah. I'm sick of the lies. And this idea of building an economy from the bottom up is so stupid. Who creates jobs, Joe? The bottom up? No. It's usually the top down is the ones that create the jobs, right? It's the people with money. The people with money say, you know what, I have an idea or I have a product and I want to go into the market and I'm going to put out this stuff. And then those people gain more money and then they create jobs. You explained the bottom up. The only bottom up is small businesses, but those people have been taken down due to the pandemic, due to science. So let me know your thoughts on this. I don't think that people actually feel like they have more money in their pocket. I don't know about you, but the average person's costs monthly have gone up drastically. Groceries. Even when I go to the grocery store, there are things that aren't there all the time. And the things that are there are way too expensive for me to even buy. Gas prices where it's at. I've started to think twice about making longer road trips. I've started to think more seriously about, do I want to really drive this far to work every day? If this is where gas is going to be and how long. As Biden releases strategic oil reserves that are meant for wartime scenarios, which I guess you could technically say we are in one. But instead of drilling for more here, it's Russia's fault. I'm sick of these politicians. It's not my fault. I'm not doing anything. I'm not creating inflation. I'm not printing money. I'm not overspending. It's your fault. And if you don't believe me, shut your mouth and fall in line. It's because you're one of those stupid, poor people You just don't get it. All right, next clip. Look, when I saw this clip today, I immediately thought, you know what? This is exactly why I don't believe any of Biden's words when he talks about wanting to lower gas prices for the average everyday citizen. I just don't. Because he has people like this come out and say this.
And as the president so clearly stated yesterday, ultimately, we need to reduce our reliance on our dependence on oil altogether. And as the president...
That's right. Does that sound like we're doing everything we can to lower the gas prices for you to continue to use? Sounds like to me is, hey, you broke son of a guns. Why don't you just go buy an electric vehicle? Spend $50,000 on an electric vehicle instead of that extra $80 a month you're paying for gas. Figure out your whole life. Why can't you be a rich, elitist politician like me? I'm making $250,000 a year for saying what I'm saying. What are you making? I just don't believe him. I just don't. Oh, God, we'll end with that one. SCOTUS. They're talking about Trump. Oh, let's check in on the press.
And the historically strong labor market we see in today's jobs report is a testament to not just the president's correct diagnosis and prescription, but his insistence that the plan be quickly and efficiently implemented to get COVID and economic relief, shots in arms, and checks and pockets into the system. Today we learn that we've got an unemployment rate of 3.6%, a tick above its pre-pandemic rate of 3.5%. We've got an historically unprecedented run with data back to 1939 of 11 months in a row with job gains north of 400.
Okay, I can't just listen to propaganda the whole time. All right. Jon Stewart has decided to join the ranks and talk about the problem with white people. And then he puts this out today, racism and resource guarding. And you can all, my favorite thing is before I even start this clip is you can look at Jon Stewart's face. Some would say that might be a face of someone who is remorseful or wants forgiveness. I see it as a face of slowly dying on the inside. You're just becoming like the rest of them, Jon. You used to speak up for what the average everyday American felt. I wish there was more shows that were produced like this that actually pushed ideas and thoughts about what the average everyday American is thinking. Not the elitists, not the people in New York, not people in LA, but average everyday Americans. Stuff like gas prices, stuff like inflation. Maybe do some more stuff on inflation. Maybe do stuff on how bills are passed. Maybe do something on how important the Supreme Court is, how important the Constitution, like how important the Bill of Rights is. No, we're talking about how terrible white people are.
They've mapped it out where people traveled from to go to.
Look at his face.
To go to the insurrection event. Where they traveled from. Soiree. Some areas had populations where people of color went up in their populations, and then you can track and then all these people were like, well, I gotta go shit in the White House.
What? What? Who's even tracking that conversation?
I was gonna say, I think that's the part about this conversation that is so important to me. Resource guarding, we joke about it, but this is really an important conversation because we never really get to diagnose what's going on. I don't have privilege. What is privilege? It's well, let's have the conversation. Privilege isn't about what makes your life better. It's about what's normal. When you see a police officer, it's normal for you to be like, oh, Jim, and walk past. While I'm like...
I never do that. Again, that's stereotyping all white people feel this way. And I remember a time when stereotyping was actually racism. To assume something of someone based on how they looked. But now the left is like, no, actually, stereotyping is good. It's positive. It's positive when you can stereotype a white person negatively and stereotype a black person positively. That's progress.
Thank God my cell phone battery's at 98% because my family might need evidence. Until my kid's life is like that normal, that's privilege. And like, that's the conversation like I hope we are getting here. And if not,
we don't even agree if racism exists. So that's like,
We're gonna do the problem with black people at some point. We called it.
No, but that's such a good point, because I do think there is a sense in the white community.
Speak for all of us.
Which I have infiltrated.
Yeah. Y'all snuck
quite
in.
successsually.
In what year?
You're welcome. It was right after the Italians. We came in.
Can we talk about how Jon Stewart is surrounding himself with really young liberals? He just looks so lost in the conversation, but he feels like he needs to be a part of it because this is young, youthful energy.
The Irish became the cops. The Italians opened up the pizza places, and we were like, anyone want a nosh? we jumped in on that point.
This is real laughter. I don't believe it.
But there's such a reaction to, you're calling me immoral. If you say racism exists in this country, then you are saying I'm immoral. And the other thing you're saying is my life is easier than yours. So it's really easy for people to go, my life is hard. But the thing they don't realize is like, yeah, life is fucking hard for almost everybody. But there's this added, it kind of became clear to me in a completely different.
You can see the writers in the room are like, I don't know if I believe what you just said.
Context. And it had to do with women. And I can't remember, it was Jess Williams. You remember Jess Williams?
Yeah.
We were talking about something I can't remember, and we were talking about walking to work from the subway. And Jessica was like, I go, and she starts describing how she walks from the subway to work. And I was like, why would you do that? It lets you out on 52nd, you walk right across. And she goes, past the construction site.
I see where this is going.
I was like, yeah, they're putting so I can't walk there because they harassed me. And I was like, wait, what? And then it was a whole thing about, and I can't leave the office at night unless I leave with some. And what it made me realize is like, privilege is not having to add the extra steps to make the recipe taste good. Like, women, black people, like, all these extra steps have to be added in, and it's that thing you're talking about. Like, just want it to be normal. No one's saying your life is easy because you're white.
No, that's what they've been saying for a long time. So, but I guess we can try to, I guess this is the nuanced take. Let's keep going down this hole.
What they're saying is, but you also, like, you don't have these 5 other things you got to do. Or if you're a woman.
Really? There's nothing that white people specifically have to do that's different than any other race? Nothing?
And that's the hardest thing to get to people, is to say.
There's no programs that don't look out for white people specifically?
Like, we're not calling you immoral, or we're not saying that that you caused this. I feel like the collaborative process at the show really helps to calibrate.
Hey, what's up, Tiger Man? No notice on YouTube? Of course I didn't get a notice. I just recently got back on YouTube. They took me down for misinformation, and then I fought it for an appeal, and they were just like, I don't know what to do. So they just took down my video and allowed me back on. It was the weirdest process I've ever experienced. But I appreciate you for letting me know that you didn't get a notice on YouTube, Tiger Man. I appreciate that.
Not a dogma or an orthodoxy, but a thought process behind how we approach these ideas. And the fact that this is a problem for so long, it's pretty clear that that the black community has all of our prescriptions for the troubles go to the black community. Well, get your families together.
Yeah.
Pull up your bootstraps. Talk in the Queen's English. All those things. But when you really think about it, they haven't. We've made the fight for equality so bloody and so perilous as to destroy the foundations of an entire group of people.
Right.
And then we sit back and go, who fucked this up?
Right.
Can you please clean this up? No? Is that, I mean...
No, I agree with you. It's
He's saying that the government ruined it, which I agree with, by establishing a welfare state has crippled so many communities in America. No, that can't be it. It's these corporations.
just that means that every person who doesn't see it that way, they go, oh, that's such radical thought. And for black people, a lot of times you go, no, it's kind of simple arithmetic.
You already know at the end of this episode, Cornel West is gonna watch it and be like, no missed calls?
Oh my God. I'm actually, because Kay, every now and then I go, I would love to hear Cornel say, now, Brother John.
He was on our list. He was on our list.
Yes.
One thing that's fucking mind-blowing to me is that 1 in 5 white people believe that they're like discriminated against more than black people.
Well, I guess it depends where those white people live, right? And also socioeconomically where they are. I guess that would matter, right? And maybe some of these other celebrities who are incredibly rich, maybe they don't experience any racism. There's
1 in 5. That's 20%.
Wait a second. 1 in 5?
1 in
so
5.
was it wrong?
And also, I love the fact that she puts out a statistic like that. No backing. Doesn't say where it's from. There's no script. No, there's no asterisk. You just said it. And then now they're going to have a conversation on something someone just said out of the blue. I've never seen that before, but I guess it's true because you said it.
Ross, Rachel, Chandler. It wasn't my baby Monica. Please, not Monica. It can't be.
That is crazy.
That was the conversation. So yes, after watching this clip of racism resource gardening, I agree. There are some cultures and there are some people that experience a lot harder hardships in life. Absolutely. You'd be insane to say otherwise. But I think you would also be insane to say all people experience this. Or all people that look like this experience this. I think it has a lot to do with the culture they live in, the socioeconomic status they are, who they are in the public's eye, where they work, degree. There's so much around it rather than just all black people. Because to say that LeBron James experiences more racism than the average everyday white person is just so dumb. Or if he's not more privileged than the average everyday white person is so stupid. The idea that he wouldn't be able to get out of a ticket, or the idea that he wouldn't be able to pay for whatever house he wanted, or buy whatever property he wanted, or send his kids to school, or start a trust fund, and all this stuff that I don't know if I'll be able to provide for my kids. And then to say that his life is harder than mine when he became a millionaire straight out of high school, it's just dumb. It's good to see that there is some nuance in this conversation in this clip. But again, assuming something based on someone's skin color or gender they are is not okay. It's just not. Imagine that being an insane thought. Let's go check on the press conference.
An SPR release. We saw oil prices fall quite quickly, and prices at the pump followed, were down at least 10 cents a gallon, as I remember, pretty close out of the gate.
Why did they fall? Because we released a strategic oil reserve, not because We're
dollars a barrel, something around 7 or 8%.
It's so
since
dumb.
the president made his call. And so when he's talking about a bridge, he's talking about helping American consumers with this aggressive, historically large distribution of barrels from the strategic reserves. The idea of the president's clean energy and sustainable economy and decarbonization agenda is very much alive, very much ongoing, and that's the chew gum part. You know, that we have to make sure we help consumers get through this difficult period and help to bring down the impact as best we can of the Putin price hike. But at the same time, we simply cannot give any sort of short shrift to our clean energy agenda that is so essential for building not just a sustainable future, but a future of good jobs here in America. One final point. When while the strategic oil release should have the impacts that earlier the president said today, that doesn't mean that the impacts of the conflict in Ukraine are somehow no longer in play. They are still in the picture, and of course we will follow them, particularly from the impact of commodity prices, food and energy specifically, but not exclusively.
Any commitments from the company specifically?
I don't have a readout on those conversations.
All right, let's go to this story. Libs of TikTok is doing some actual journalism, which is insane to think. For a couple of reasons. Libs of TikTok is not even a blue check mark, so how could you trust it? It's not even a verified account. I'm at the point where I trust non-verified accounts more. This elitist blue check mark ideology has got to be stopped. But you go down to the Minnesota Middle School, has a Black Excellence Award, a separate award for black students. Again, we were just watching the Jon Stewart interview talking about how white people experience different sets of things in life. Women experience this, black people experience this. And so to say that this isn't racism and just silly, because it is. You're separating an entire class of people. And you're doing this at a child in a developmental stage that's important to build unity, to build togetherness, and you're putting out a Black Excellence Award. I know people that would clap this. See, I don't, because I'd rather have an Excellence Award. Because I can't win this award. And neither can an Asian, neither can a Hispanic. They're awarded this for positive school attendance, reading academic growth, and also this is like a token award. It's just so silly. Good job, little black kid. You did it. I'd be pissed if I got this about black. I'd be like, why can't I just win the Excellence Award? Why do I have to win the Black Excellence Award? But again, liberals are here to rescue the world. And you should be thankful for them, because they make the world a better place, said no one ever. The end. That story just like made me so angry.
And
when we need oil for our military, it will be exactly. Yeah, Tiger Man. We're about to engage in World War III.
What happened to the retail price of gasoline after the last release? Now, it's a global market and there's a lot of moving parts, but it is a fact that the price of gasoline fell about 10 cents per gallon shortly after it. Now, if your point is that these releases from the SPR don't have a
long-term effect,
don't have a structural long-term impact on world markets. That's why the president used the metaphor of a bridge today. The idea is to help consumers as they go, consumers as they deal with elevated inflationary pressures more broadly, and specifically with some of the impacts of the Putin price hike on energy costs, and that's what the release is targeted towards.
One more very quickly. Yesterday, Kate was briefing, and she said that all options are on the table as it relates to next potential steps that the president may or may not support. Does the president think that gas tax holiday is a good idea right now? Is that something that he could get behind?
I wish.
Obviously, it's gaining a lot of momentum in the States.
Yeah, I'm not going to legislate from here or even get into ongoing policy considerations beyond saying, when we say all options are on the table, we mean it, and that option is.
Do you think it's a good policy?
Do I personally think it's a good policy? I think that all options are on the table.
They would
and
never
all
not
options,
take your
including
money.
That one should be on the table.
Great, Jack, you got to be the last one. Thank you, Jared. Yesterday, Brian talked about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve and buying back oil when prices are cheaper in the future. But, long term, as you just mentioned, the release does not solve the problem of the structural deficit in the market. This administration talks about how you're pushing for domestic producers to ramp up production, but how is that going to happen? Like, the fees yesterday that were announced are sort of a push to get them to use these, leases, not all of which may produce any energy. But beyond that, the answer I got yesterday was long-term our focus is on, clean energy, and that's why the president invoked the DPA to try to get, battery parts for electric vehicles. That was not, the answer that the oil industry was looking for. That answer for, what the long-term plan is shifted away from fossil fuels. So how are they going to ramp up production, and why can you say that prices are going to be cheaper in the future where it doesn't seem like there are any friendlier energy policies?
Well, first of all, let me just be very clear and specific. When my comment on
good luck with that.
The retail cost of gas at the pump relating to the SPR release is very much an empirical pattern that we've seen time and again, where an SPR release occurs, the price of oil comes down. We see that at the pump. And as I suggested, that's a time-limited function. The president called it a bridge. You're sort of saying a bridge to what? Right. And I understand that. Well, look, if you believe, as I do, that this is still a global market, that energy is still a global market and still a competitive market, what you expect to see is at a particular price point where oil is actually probably above.
Why do you
oil
see
is probably above
We're
that
just gonna do
price point, and certainly.
We need to have wood and fire cars.
Weeks. Historically, that has led to greater energy production. And one of the things you hear the president saying in so many words is that we'd like to see that kind of production, that kind of response from the impact of market forces on these decisions of these energy companies. Now, if you don't see that market response, I think you have to ask yourself why, and that involves the kinds of commentary you've heard the president make about industry concentration, about the need for competitiveness,
concentration?
the importance of having an adequate level of competition within our key industries, whether it's energy or meatpacking, because absent, in the presence of excessive concentration and absent adequate competition, price levels can be higher than they otherwise would. So I very much support the president's rhetoric and the way in which he's leaned into that problem. But historically, we expect price signals in the energy market to have the effect that they've had, and we will continue to nudge the companies to move in that direction.
But when lenders hear,
we expect them to have the price.
What's your long-term
Did
solution?
you hear what he said?
Lenders, he said?
Lenders. When we're talking about a long-term solution, and then the administration's talking about clean energy, it's not sending the signal to lenders that this is a safe place for investment. That this administration is saying plainly we want to increase domestic production. That's the sort of language they're looking for.
So I don't really agree with that framing in the following sense. I think by lenders, I'm thinking of investors, and investors in the energy sector. If you look at the profitability, if you even look at some of the buybacks and the share prices, investors in that sector have been doing quite well. And that tells you right there that there is a price point wherein it is very possible for an energy producer to be highly successful and to make a lot of money in today's economy. And in fact, what we'd like to, I think one of the messages the president has been trying to convey to them, that is on behalf of the American consumers, we're asking you to respond to those price signals so that people can I
have no idea.
Have an easier time of getting through this.
I have no idea who this guy
now,
is.
At the same time, We have a medium and
I think you might be one of the energy guy.
absolutely existentially important to us to move towards a sustainable economy. And we do that in a way that creates great opportunities for both firms, employers, and for workers. So again, this is not an either or, it is a both and. And I see very much an economic structure in energy markets where they can both engage in robust production today and plan for a much cleaner energy future.
He's a surprise guest.
For joining us. You're always welcome.
Thank you very much, Tim.
Okay, we will keep you honest and as long as
you
you
can
can stay before you need to gather, and we'll keep you
down.
updated. They're going to track it closely from here. I just have a couple of quick updates for you from the top. One is in the State of the Union, the president called on out the ocean shipping carriers who raised their prices by as much as 1,000% during the pandemic. These costs pass through to American businesses and families and contribute to inflation. And just a month after the president spoke about this at the State of the Union, the Senate yesterday passed overwhelmingly bipartisan legislation to reform the ocean shipping industry and lower costs for American farmers, businesses, and consumers. And additionally,
price setting, huh? Okay, let's go on to this story. Okay. You keep hearing about how people on the left are going after your children. They're trying to go after your children. I mean, we have this right here.
We're coming for them.
Never forget the San Francisco Gay Choir. Never forget that. And then we have this from Alan McKee. He's a professor. What's the best porn for young people? If you're an adult wanting to support a young person in their life with healthy sexual development, here are some hacks you need. My new blog for sex school. What kinds of pornography are healthy for young people? And then it goes on to here. It says, it's important that we do everything we can to help young people become porn literate and identify the pornography that's going to help grow us healthy, happy, sexual adults. Adam McKee, professor, faculty administration. The experts say you should help young people watch porn. This is so messed up. The experts have agreed the 6 criteria are important when looking for porn that supports young, healthy people's sexual development, including a variety of sexual practices and pleasures, not just penis and vagina intercourse, but not just orgasms. So, be sure to show your kids, gay and lesbian, all the porn above. Includes a variety of body types. Yeah, and don't just have a certain body type. Don't be so fat phobic. Abilities, so different disabilities and stuff like that, genders, races, and or ethnicities. And why stop there? Throw in some animals. Shows negotiation of consent on screen, which happens in porn all the time. Would you sign this form? Including not limited to open communication, explicit statement of sexual desires, respect to boundaries, and or ongoing consent. The material is known to be ethically produced, which is not limited to attention to consent, safe working, focuses on pleasure of all participants, shows safe sex, but not limited to condom use, dams, or lube. This is from UTS. Look, pornography is it's an addiction. It's a very serious addiction, and it cripples most young men everywhere to the point where they isolate. They look at women as objects. It just encourages. There's so much wrong mentally, and not only that, porn is more addicted than meth in a lot of ways. The dopamine that's released in your brain is incredibly high, to the point where some men, they get so aroused by porn, they can become so addicted by porn, they can even have sex in real life because it doesn't stimulate the same. Because in real life, you have emotions, you talk, you can't just, there's so much involved. It takes away the beauty of sex in a healthy relationship. But this is what they want to do. Everything is sexualized. Everything is about sex all the time. And especially with young adults, young youth, young people. They don't specify what young people means. God only hope that it's 18 or over, but you never know in today's culture. So here, don't just tell your kids how to have safe sex or tell them about STDs and tell them about what it means to be in a healthy relationship. Show them porn and show them healthy porn. As if there's some kind of thing called healthy porn. It's like, here's an addiction that is going to probably stick with you maybe for the rest of your life and ruin a lot of relationships in your future, and you need to do it in a healthy way. This is where we're at. It's not crazy anymore. It's not a conspiracy theory. People are pushing this more and more. Everything is over-sexualized. The left is the most over-sexualized people group ever. Everything's about sex for them. Full stop. Let me know your thoughts on this. I think it's disgusting. Let's go back to the press briefing.
Decide whether such potential attacks are justified.
Animal Kingdom, that's where us old people learned. Tiger Man. Dude, I hope that's not where you learned. Fat people porn, that will stop them. No. It said
specifically on
that
this.
you should include fat porn.
I'm not going to get into a future hypothetical. What I would just reiterate again is that this is a war of aggression by the Russian leadership, by President Putin, that has left millions of people displaced, homeless, has targeted civilians, hospitals, and other innocent people across Ukraine. We know who the aggressor is. That is President Putin and Russia. And beyond that, I don't have any comment on military tactics.
The president said yesterday that Vladimir Putin appears to be self-isolating, that he appears to have maybe fired or put under house arrest certain advisors. Does the U.S. have a clear sense of which advisors are currently advising Putin and who has his ear?
Well, the president was speaking yesterday to public reporting, so we don't have more details to speak to at this point in time. But I would say to go back to a couple of days ago and the information that was put out by the administration that was reflected, that came through our intelligence agencies, what we do know is that this war is not going how President Putin had planned, that his intention of winning a quick war, defeating the Ukrainians quickly is not how it has played out. We have seen.
So you knew about it?
We have seen troops run out of equipment that they need on the Russian side, and that is clearly not what he had planned. In terms of who is advising him, I don't have more specifics on that front from here.
And just one more on a separate topic. You're obviously not the only person in the administration recently to test positive for COVID. Can you give us a sense of whether there have been discussions lately at the White House about what would happen if President Biden were to test positive for COVID? Help us understand what working from home, quarantining, running the country would look like if the president were to get COVID.
Well, I would first say that this wasn't exactly your question, but let me reiterate this point, is that we take steps over and beyond CDC
We're a little behind. I'm going to
recommendations and
catch us
guidelines
up.
here. Steps over and beyond
I guess
CDC.
we're on.
Well, I tested positive about 12 days ago, if my math is correct. I waited to return to the office until I had a negative test. And that is our protocol here, or the protocol I
Boring question.
Also, we take steps in advance of meeting the president. Anyone who's meeting the president is going to have a test that day. And we also take social distancing steps in meetings when warranted. In terms of, look, we recognize that COVID-19 remains a transmissible disease, especially recent variants. And while I'm not going to get into a future hypothetical of any of our additional principles, since the second gentleman had testing positive, I would note that the president of the United States.
They get so pumped up when every single time they say second gentleman, they're like, did you hear what I said? We have a woman as a vice president, so.
Just a quick follow-up on on the Staten Island vote.
Sure.
It's obviously a big moment for the labor movement in this country, the first union at Amazon. Has the president had a chance to speak to labor leaders, or is he planning to issue a statement? Is he planning to talk about it at all?
I don't have anything planned to preview for you in terms of an official statement. I'm speaking, of course, on his behalf. Obviously, as you know, the president has been a longtime supporter of the right to organize, the right to.
All right, I want to see what. Let's see what Marsha Blackburn is talking about. Marsha Blackburn came out and asked New SCOTUS, can you define a woman? Let's see if she supports her now.
But right now, these parents I'm talking to are looking at Washington and seeing the left use these same tactics to convince whoever gives credence to these unhinged headlines that reality is somehow up for debate. Mr. President, they're not going to tolerate it anymore, not from Congress, not from the White House, and certainly not from the Supreme Court. I think it bears repeating that the purpose of the Supreme Court is to interpret the law, not to take up arms in a culture war. I cannot, in good conscience, give my endorsement to a Supreme Court nominee whose first instinct was to chip away at the very foundation of the law rather than challenge the expectations of radical political activists.
Good for her. I like that she fixed it. They took out the quotations in woman and put the quotations on science. Science says no is the simple answer. I couldn't believe that USA Today thing about Marsha Blackburn asked Ketanji Brown Jackson to define woman in quotation marks. This idea of national divorce being such a stupid idea, we're walking towards it. There are two different sides, and the left is all about sexuality and the right is over it. So where does this end up? You tell me. Let's go back and check on our press briefing.
With the media.
Well, I have always gone over and above the stringent ethical and legal requirements of the Biden administration, and I take that very seriously. And as a standard for every employee of the White House, I have received rigorous ethics counseling, including as it relates to any future employment. I've complied with all ethics requirements and gone beyond and taken steps to recuse myself from decisions as appropriate. And so I hope that all of you, I've been working with all of you some time, would judge me for my record and how I treat all of you, both in the briefing room and otherwise. And I try to answer questions from everybody across the board. I know everybody in the back of the room may not always be pleased with me, but I try my best, and I will certainly continue to do that. Okay, go ahead.
Are you good?
Yes,
Follow?
go ahead, Chris.
Jen, given the reports, which have now been confirmed by multiple media outlets, how can you continue to be an effective briefer if you do in fact have plans to join a media outlet?
Well, I have nothing, again, to announce about any conversations or any future plans. And at whatever time I leave the White House,
she's so mad that
promise
got
you the
taken.
first thing I'm
That
going
people
to do
know
is
about
sleep
her
and
leaving.
Spend time with my 3- and 6-year-old, who are my most important audiences of all.
Until I join
but I would
MSNBC.
say, Kristen, that again, I have taken the ethics, legal requirements to the highest, very seriously. In any discussions and any considerations about any future employment, just as any White House official would, and I have taken steps beyond that to ensure there's no conflicts.
And I understand what you're saying, but I guess the question is, how is it ethical to have these conversations with media outlets while you continue to have a job standing behind that podium?
That's a great
Well,
question.
There are a range of stringent ethical and legal requirements that are imposed on everybody in this
She knows
administration.
she
and
knows
many
it's very
administrations past
unethical.
about
That's
any
what she's
conversations you're having
walking
with
around
future
this.
employers. That is true of any industry you're working
No,
in, and I have
it's
abided by those.
specifically true for you because you work for the White House. This isn't Taco Bell. This isn't a grocery store, Jen. God.
tried to take steps to go beyond that as well.
And broadly speaking, is it the policy of this White House to allow staffers to have discussions, even if indirectly, with institutions that impact and affect their jobs and your job here?
Well, it is the policy of this White House to ensure that anyone who is having conversations about future employment does so through consultation with the White House counsel's office and ensuring they abide by any ethics and legal requirements. And those are conversations that I have taken very seriously and abided by every component of.
Sure.
Oh, okay. So when we go Serena, we can go, and then we can wrap.
Thank you, Jen. Can you
said you missed us.
that the U.S.
Okay. I know it may be that people who may have to see the president depart, and I don't want to hold anyone back, but I also am happy to answer your question and a couple of others if people want to stay. But if people need to, are they gathering right now? Sorry to interrupt your train of thought here. Okay. Go ahead.
Can you confirm reports that the U.S. has been providing Ukraine with protective equipment such as gas masks, hazmat suits, and other materials against a possible chemical weapons attack from Russia?
So the United States and members of the international community have, of course, repeatedly warned about the potential for Russia to use chemical or biological weapons in Ukraine, and that Moscow is possibly planning a false flag operation. In an effort to assist our Ukrainian partners, the U.S. government is providing the government of Ukraine with life-saving equipment and supplies that could be deployed in the event of Russian use of a chemical and biological weapon against Ukraine. It does not compromise our domestic preparedness in any way, shape, or form, just for everybody's awareness, but we are providing it as we are providing a range of materials and equipment.
Just one quick question on another subject. The House passed a bill today that would remove marijuana from the federal schedule of controlled substances. Every Democrat, save for two, voted in favor of this bill. Does the president support the legislation?
Well, first let me say that, as the president said during the campaign, our current marijuana laws are not working.
Marijuana?
He believes that we
I'm
need to
currently on a
improve our
little
approach,
marijuana
including to
right
address
now.
Racial disparities and systemic inequities in our criminal justice system, broaden research on the effects of marijuana, and support the safe use of marijuana for medical purposes. We look forward to working with Congress to achieve our shared goals, and we'll continue having discussions with them about this objective. Jackie, go ahead.
Thank you, Jen.
Oh, okay, we've got to wrap up in a second here, and then I'll go to Karen. Okay, so there, you guys got to wrap. I'm sure we will get you let us get you a thorough comment on that. I will say, as the president conveyed in his announcement yesterday, certainly working with the global community to ensure we are meeting the supply shortages in the global community at this time is part of our effort to reduce gas prices for Americans, given it's a global oil market. So this is part of that, and we will get you a more comprehensive. I am here and in my office if you guys have quick questions.
Question on inflation.
Sure.
Real quick. Today, the president blamed Putin's invasion of Ukraine for not just higher gas prices, but also higher food prices. Inflation was at 7.4% in January before the invasion. In February, it went up to 7.9%. Putin didn't invade until the 24th. So March is really going to show the impact of the invasion. And that report doesn't even come out until April 12th. So how are people supposed to believe the Putin price hike is to blame for food prices going up when the timeline doesn't add up?
How dare
here's
you?
What the president is reflecting on. One, the price of gas has gone up by approximately $1 or more since Putin started lining up troops at the border.
And we stopped buying Russian oil. Continue.
This is something that outside economists have spoken to as well, not just the administration. And those are just factual details about how much the price of gas has gone up. We know that's a huge impact. And when you say inflation, people think the costs on their pocketbook and the impact on their budgets. The second piece on the availability of food, we know that different markets around the world are impacted.
Yeah, we should buy only USA oil.
By the lack of
100%.
production in Ukraine and because of the war. And we know that could impact global food prices.
This is the first time we've heard the president blame Putin for higher food prices.
I think what the president's looking at is what the impact has been in a lot of areas that are leading to price increases on people's pocketbooks and where we could see it increasing over the course of time. I'm here in my office. I see you all. Thank you, everyone.
Who will replace you?
I just heard that African guy. Who would replace you? They don't know. And they won't say. All right. Let's just end with this note. been fun. It's been real. Never forget this choir's song, as they are now openly, like Disney, saying, my gay agenda.
We're coming for them. We're coming for your children. We're coming for them. We're coming for your children. We're coming for them. Your children will care about fairness and justice for others. Your children will work to convert all their sisters and brothers. Then soon we're almost certain your kids will start converting you. The gay agenda is coming home. The gay agenda is here. But you don't have to worry. Because there's nothing wrong with standing by our side. Get on board in a hurry. Because the world always needs a bit more pride. No, you don't have to worry. Because there's nothing wrong with standing by our side. Get on board in a hurry. Because the world always needs a bit more pride. Come on, try a little pride. We'll convert your children. Then we'll turn to you, giving all the fear inside. It's freeing like you never knew. Go and see San Francisco. Go and turn up that disco. You'll forget you were ever upset. We'll convert your children and make an ally of you yet. We'll make an ally of you yet. We'll make an ally of you yet.
Golly. You're glad your kids are grown? I bet. What a weird time to have kids right now. All right, Tiger Man, I appreciate you for joining me. It's been like a fun time. I'm going to end with this commercial break. I'm shutting down this thing a little early. I appreciate you for hanging out with me. And with this commercial break, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. I love you guys. Tell your friends and family about the Derek O'Shea Show. Let's go.
My fellow Americhans, it's me, Joe Byron. Make sure to support Derek O'Shea by going to buymeacoffee.com/Derek O'Shea. Easily one of my least favorite YouTubers of all time. And all you have to do is go down here, buy him a coffee, support his show, or even join as a member. $3 a month, that's all it costs. And you could be a big time supporter of his show. He's a good guy, but he's a piece of crap, and I hate him for that. I hope you have a great day, and as always, let's go get ice cream, and I need to get my sniff on.